Hi friends! Welcome to Beautifully Bookish Bethany, where I have new videos every week about books and the geeky mom lifestyle. In today's video, I have a fairly sizable November book haul for you. So look, I have been spending too much money on books. It's been a stressful month. I've bought a lot of books. I've also had a lot of books sent to me from publishers. And so for those reasons, this is going to be a larger than usual book haul. I think I have around 38 books. So yeah, however, some of them are books that I've already read. Some of them are books that I ordered for myself. Some were sent to me. It's kind of a mixed bag. Let's go ahead and dive into this. So there's one book I purchased that I cannot show you because it's for a secret video project. For those of you who are familiar with World Hoppers, it's a collaborative science fiction and fantasy channel, and I will eventually be collaborating with them a little bit. And so a bunch of people involved in that project got together to do a secret Santa where instead of giving each other stuff, we review another person's favorite book. So I was assigned a person and I had to pick one of their favorite books that I hadn't read yet, and I have done that. So I'm not going to be showing you that book in this book haul. You'll see it in December when they all drop, but that was fun and I'm excited about it. With that said, why don't we start with my pre-orders, because I had a couple of them this month. First up, and nobody's surprised this is on the list, it just hadn't arrived yet the last time I filmed a book haul, but I have a copy of Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. I loved this. So far this is my favorite fantasy book that I have read in 2020. Favorite 2020 release. I definitely wanted to own a copy of it. It's got maps, it's got a beautiful cover, and I just loved this. This is Rebecca Roanhorse's first high fantasy that's multi-POV. It was like a perfect book for me. I really, really loved this. And then the other pre-order that came in this month is A Promised Land by Barack Obama, and I am actually currently in the middle of reading this and absolutely loving it. It's fantastic. This is going to eventually be 2 volumes because there's a lot to say, but it's really interesting. I was lucky enough also to get an audio review copy from Penguin Random House Volumes app, so I'm listening to the audiobook and kind of reading along through parts of it, and he reads the book himself, so if you get a chance to listen to the audiobook, I would recommend it. It's really interesting, it's funny, it's just lovely. So that was a big one that I picked up. Okay, the next category is books that I have either already read or already had a copy of on my TBR in one case, but mostly these are books that I've already read and wanted to own copies of. Got them on sale, got them used, with a couple of exceptions. So first up I have Network Effect by Martha Wells. This is the first full-length novel in the Murderbot series, which I love a whole lot. I always wanted to own a copy of it. I had an arc of it, but I wanted a finished copy. It went on sale. I decided to get a finished copy. Murderbot is lovely. Of course, I'm gonna want to own this. Then, again, because I saw it on sale and I did really like it, I picked up a copy of Over the Woodward Wall by A. Deborah Baker. I read this as an e-arc, and I decided to buy a finished copy, and I want to show you this because it's kind of cool. Tor.com did such a great job with the book design here. So what's really, really fun about this is the texture and the font that they used on the hardcover is sort of like, you know, those really old children's library books that you would get like in school, if those of you who remember. It's kind of how it feels, and it's different from most other Tor.com books, but it's kind of perfect for the world, right? Because Over the Woodward Wall is a book mentioned in Middle Game as a children's classic, so I just thought the book design of this was really cool, and I'm happy to own a finished copy. I love Shauna Maguire, so adding that to my collection. Then the other 2 books that I purchased that I had already read, and I've got I think 2 more coming that just haven't arrived yet, is I've decided, because I'm loving the Side Changeling series, I really want to own my favorites in covers that I like. So I've been searching out used copies of these covers with the faces on them, because especially for the earlier books, I prefer these covers. They're the UK paperbacks, and so I found pretty inexpensive used copies of Slave to Sensation and Caressed by Ice. These are 2 out of the 4 that I've ordered, so more will probably be here in my next book haul. I really like this as the start of the series, and I love the characters and how much we see them throughout. And then Caressed by Ice is one of my favorite books I've read this year, so I'm really happy to have a cover that I prefer. Like, I'll show you, because this is, so this is the US cover of Caressed by Ice. It's like super cheesy, I know, like not my favorite. So I definitely prefer this. So I will be unhauling this copy and exchanging it for this. Yay. Then there was another book that had been on my wish list for a while that went on sale, and I have not yet read this, but it's on my TBR, and I had a copy of it that I got really cheap and didn't love and knew I wanted a fancier edition. So I got a Penguin cloth-bound edition of Middlemarch by George Eliot. This is one of the classics that I would really like to read soon. I mean, I know these things eventually like kind of flake, but they're just so pretty, and I've been kind of slowly building up a little collection of them. And then I recently discovered, some people have been asking about my copy of Passing by Nella Larson, which is beautiful. It's part of this new collection that Penguin apparently is just launching called the Penguin Vitae collection, and they're new cloth-bound editions of American classics, and like now I have like a bunch of them on my wish list because I'm like, these are so pretty, I love them. But yeah, I just really love these editions. They're really pretty. Middlemarch is one that I've seen the mini series of and liked it, so it's like, I know I'm gonna love this when I eventually actually read the book, and it was on sale, so I got that. And the final book to talk about in this category is a book that I bought as a splurge, hoping I would love it, and I did in fact really love it. Read it right away, which is not something I actually do all that often these days, because usually I have so many other things I should get to, but I really wanted to read this and I loved it. This is Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth. I actually have a complete standalone book review available for this. I will link that up above if you haven't seen it yet. I'm really, really happy I decided to purchase this one. It is illustrated, and that I think added to the experience of reading the book. Let's see if I can find you. It's like it's got like large illustrations and then like little small illustrations throughout. Like this is one of the bigger ones, but it's just a beautiful book and one that I love. Ended up being one of my favorites of the year, so I'm really happy to own a copy. The next category, and this is most of the rest of the books that I bought for myself, to be honest, is books that I bought because of other booktubers. Yeah, so, and maybe I should do like a whole video about this at some point of like books I've read because of other people, commenters and booktubers. I may at some point, but it's not infrequent that I'll be watching something and someone will talk about a book and I'm like, ooh, well, I want to read that. Let me go add that to my wish list, or let me buy it for something. And so here are some books that I bought kind of because of other people. First up is a series purchase. I'm gonna say this was very, very on sale, and it's not really totally for me because I think my 6-year-old might be close to being able to read these, but the person who I think convinced me that I should give them a try, and definitely give them a try for my kids, is Ashley from the Bookish Realm. Hearing her kind of talk about these convinced me, but this is the Percy Jackson series. I have never read these. Like, they were a little past my time, and so I just never read them, and I know they're very, very beloved, so I have a paperback boxed set of the main series. It was super cheap, which was great. And yeah, I'm excited to give these a try and kind of see how long we need to wait before my oldest can read them, but I feel like he'll probably enjoy them. And hearing Ashley talk about them, I was like, okay, these seem like something I should definitely pick up. So I got those. Then, because of Mara at Books Like Whoa, I grabbed The Perilous Guard by Elizabeth Marie Pope. She did a whole live stream with one of her friends talking about this book and another book by this author, where they did kind of a book club for it. And this is out of print. It's a little hard to get, but it sounded really interesting. It's kind of like a middle grade to young YA historical fantasy type novel with some like romantic elements to it. The way they talked about it, it sounded phenomenal. So I tracked down a used copy of this out of print book for myself. Then, because of a couple of different people, a little while back I had picked up my first Georgette Heyer book and loved it and decided to buy more books by Georgette Heyer. So this was kind of prompted by them. First I have The Black Moth, which was actually her first book. I will say this cover looked a lot prettier online than in person, but it's fine. I don't know much about this one in particular, but it looked, I don't know. It was less expensive than some of the others. And then the other one I got is The Grand Sophie, which is supposed to be a historical romantic comedy that people seem to really enjoy. So 2 installments of Georgette Heyer to go on my TBR. And then I have 2 books that I got mostly because of Jen over at the Book Refuge. First up, I have The Duke and I, which is the first Bridgerton book by Julia Quinn, mostly because I'm really excited about the Netflix show. I saw the trailer and it looks amazing, and I was like, well, I probably should read at least the first book. I have heard this is not one of the better ones, but I do love this cover. It's a beautiful edition, and I know they're doing a show tie-in edition as well. So I got that. She has some videos where she's been talking about Bridgerton and rereading them and reacting to the trailer and all that. So blame that on Jen. And then the other one I picked up because of her was she did a video like the one that I recently did, or it'll be up by the time you guys are seeing this, so I'll link it up above. I think we have mostly different books to talk about, but she did a book recommending romance novels with plus size or fat heroines, and that was something I had been working on when she put it up. And there was a book in that video she talked about that I was like, ooh, that sounds interesting. So I bought a copy of All Scott and Bothered by Kerrigan Byrne. I've never read anything by Kerrigan Byrne, and the way she talked about this sounded really interesting, and apparently the heroine is plus size. So there you go. Those 2 books I bought because of Jen, and they're both kind of for videos as well. And then the final book that I bought this month because of a booktuber is Lexicon by Max Berry. I recently had Jade from Bedtime Bookworm and Tori from Tori Morrow on my podcast, and Tori was talking about this book, and it sounded right up my alley. I had never really heard anybody talking about it before, but I was like, oh my goodness, I need to read this. And unfortunately, it does not have a synopsis on the back, so I can't really like tell you much. Oh, it kind of does, but it just sounded really interesting. It's about like, it has like a school element to it, and like, I don't even remember, but whatever it was she said about it in that episode, I was like, yes, I need that. So I bought a copy. And if you want to check them out, I will have all of their channels linked down below so you too can get great book recommendations from these booktubers. There is one other book that I bought for myself this month before we jump to Book of the Month and all the things that were sent to me by publishers. I know I bought a lot of books this month, guys. I bought kind of a lot. But I bought one other book, and this was just because it was something on my wish list. I think actually what had happened was I went to Barnes & Noble because I needed to get birthday hey, no, you gotta go out because I'm making a video. And one last book that I bought, what kind of happened with this was I had to go to Barnes & Noble to get birthday presents for a kids party, outdoors, socially distanced, masked, that we were going to. And while I was there, I was like, well, let me get myself a book. So I did. So I got The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow, which actually also ended up being on the list of potential Goodreads Choice Award nominees, and I really loved her debut, The 10,000 Doors of January, and this sounded phenomenal. So I went ahead and got it. It's a beautiful cover, guys. It's so pretty, and it's about like suffragette witches, I think, which sounds great. It's got deckled edges, which I know are not everybody likes, but I do. It's just like such a pretty book, and I feel like I'm probably gonna love this one, so I went ahead and grabbed a copy. Okay, so lastly, before I get to things that were sent to me for review, and I have quite a bit of it, and some things I'm like very excited about, even including 2021 releases, but before that, I have my Book of the Month Club box. If you're not familiar with Book of the Month Club, I really like them. They are a subscription service that's $15 a month, including shipping for a new release or sometimes pre-release hardcover title. They always have 5 titles in different genres every month you can select from, and if you don't like any of them, you can skip, which I occasionally do, and I think it's a great thing that you can skip when you don't want anything. So do add-on books for $10 each, up to 2 a month. If you have any interest in this, I do have a link down below. If you use my link, I get a free book. If you want to do that, feel free. If not, that's fine. This month I had, I think, 1 add-on. For November, the title that I chose was These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is a YA debut novel that's a retelling of Romeo and Juliet set in a magical version of Shanghai, I think, and so far early reviews look really good. So It was one I was definitely interested in, so I decided to pick that up. And then, because I enjoyed Home Before Dark so much, I decided to add to my Riley Sager collection with Lock Every Door. Eventually, I'd like to read all of his stuff, but this one for sure, and I already have it out from my library, so I plan on listening to the audiobook and reading this one pretty soon. Those were my 2 Book of the Month Club picks for November. All right, and then lastly, I have a whole stack of books that were sent to me for review. We will start with the ones from Harlequin. I think Harlequin especially is doing a lot right now because the holidays are coming up, so there's a lot of holiday romances, which is exciting. I have like several books from them that were sent to me for Instagram promotion. First up, I have Just Like This by Cole McCade. This is part of their Karina Adores line that has LGBT romances with common romance tropes, which I think is really cool. This one is an age gap romance set at a boys' boarding school with the new young teacher who does like art and dance and stuff like that, and the old kind of grumpy football coach. So I've heard good things about it. It sounds fun. It's also own voices for the gay representation, which is cool. Then I have 3 books from their different Harlequin lines. I have Off Limits Attraction by J.C. Lee. This is part of the Harlequin Desire line and is the 3rd book in a series. This one features an icy heiress having a fling with the producer of a film that she's starring in. Interesting. Then we have Stolen to Wear His Crown by Marcella Bell. This is what I'm hoping to read pretty soon, actually. It sounds really interesting. It's about a woman who is a scientist and is supposed to serve the crown as a scientist, and then gets kidnapped and is forced to have to marry this king that she's never met. Something like that. Like, it sounds like it's going to be really over the top and maybe kind of interesting. So I have that one. And then lastly, one of their special editions. This is A Soldier Under Her Tree by Kathy Douglas. I love this cover. It's so festive and cute. And this one involves a fake relationship around the holidays. Then I've got 2 books that they sent to me from a series that looks really cool. This is One Day to Fall and A Wedding One Christmas by Therese Bahari. What's interesting about these is they're romances set in South Africa, which I think is really interesting. I've never read romances set in South Africa before, and obviously this one is a holiday romance. Love them. They look great. I think I have another one coming to me that hasn't arrived yet for part of a series promotion that we're doing on Instagram, but those are ones I'm definitely interested in. And then lastly is one that just like screams Christmas to me, and I kind of wish I could drop everything and read it. This is Christmas on Peachtree Lane by Jules Bennett. How adorable is that? It's a opposites attract small town holiday romance, and like I'm living for it. This cover is giving me all the holiday festive vibes. So thank you so much to Harlequin for all of those books. Then I got a package from Sourcebooks Fire, and they sent me 3 books that I'm pretty excited about, one of which I'm hoping to read in November. That one is a finished copy of the new large paperback of Kingdom of Exiles by Maxim M. Martineau. These got a cover change and are also now in trade paperback size, which is cool. So I think these are YA fantasy romances, and they sound really interesting. Early reviews look good, and it was something I'd been interested in reading anyway, so I have that, so thank you to them. And then they also sent me an advanced copy of The Frozen Prince, which is the 2nd book in the series. This one is coming out in December. So I'm hoping I can read this one before the end of November and then dive into this so I can let you guys know what I think, but I love the covers, and I'm always here for some good fantasy romance. These ones I think also have a lot of like fantasy beasts in them, so should be fun. Then lastly from Sourcebooks Fire, I have a January release. This is Bedazzled by Ryan LaSala. I really enjoyed his debut with them last year, and so I'm kind of excited for this one, and it just sounds really fun. Project Runway goes to Comic-Con in an epic queer love story about creativity, passion, and finding the courage to be your most authentic self. This sounds like it's going to be something I'm going to love, so expect to see this on a TBR coming soon. Okay, I have 6 more books to share. I'm telling you, I had a lot of stuff sent to me. I have 2 things that were sent to me by authors, and then the other ones were from publishers. So I'll start with the ones from authors. First up is one that arrived unsolicited, which I don't always accept. That means like they didn't reach out to me ahead of time. However, this was one that looked pretty interesting, so I think I'm gonna give it a look. It's called Home for Hurricanes, a memoir of resilience in poetry and prose by Nikki Murphy. This is a self-published, mostly poetry collection about kind of dealing with trauma and grief, and it just sounded really interesting. So thank you to the author for sending me a copy. This is one that I think I'm gonna look through. And then the other one I'm actually excited about. So apparently a subscriber is having her debut novel come out next year with Simon & Schuster, and she asked if I would be interested in reviewing it. It does sound up my alley, so thank you so much to her. She sent me a ARC. This is The Girl from Shadow Springs by Ellie Cipher, and it sounds like it's gonna be very cool. It comes out in February of 2021, and it says it's The Revenant meets True Grit with a magical twist in this thrilling and atmospheric debut fantasy about two teens who must brave a frozen wasteland and the foes within it to save their loved ones and uncover a deadly secret. That sounds amazing, and also I'm living for this cover. The cover is incredible. So another one that I'm very excited to read. I'm guessing this is going to go on my January TBR, so expect to see that there. Then Penguin Teen sent me a finished copy of a book that I had already read as an e-arc for, again, an Instagram promotion, which was fun. This is They Wish They Were Us by Jessica Goodman. It's a YA kind of murder mystery thriller set in a small town at an elite high school, and this was one that I enjoyed. I thought it was fun. I loved the cover, and I had this for an Instagram promotional picture, so I'll put a picture of that up here so you guys can see it. Thank you so much to Penguin Teen for sending along a finished copy. 3 more to go, guys. It's like a lot of books this month. Okay, so then I have one from Entangled Teen. It's another one that I'm hoping to at least start before the end of November. This is A Curse of Roses by Diana Pingicha. It sounds super interesting. I think it's her English debut novel. It comes out on December 1st. So the author is from Portugal, and this is a retelling of a Portuguese fairy tale or myth, but with a sapphic romance at the center of it, and it follows a princess who's cursed that everything she touches, or food she touches, turns into flowers, but there's a famine plaguing her land, and yeah, this just sounded really great. So thank you. I'm hoping to read this one really soon. Then from Tor, we've got a February release. This is Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. Sounds super interesting. They're pitching this as Ancillary Justice meets Red, White, and Royal Blue. So it's a sci-fi novel with a heavy romantic element to it and political intrigue, and it definitely sounded like something that would be up my alley. So I will be reading this one, also probably in January. And then finally, we have a May release, and this was actually sent to me by the editor. It sounds really interesting. This is called Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. It is an adult reimagining of the story of Ariadne from Greek mythology, which I'm excited about. I think if this is done well, it could be really good, and so far, I mean, early reviews sound interesting. I'm definitely excited to see how the author handles it here. So there you go. Those are the, what is it, 38? 38 new books that I'm adding to my shelves this month. Oh my gosh, so many books, you guys. But a lot of things I'm excited for, I've already read, and upcoming titles you're going to see me reviewing in the next couple months. Talk to me in the comments down below. Let me know any of your thoughts or feelings on anything I talked about in this video. And for your question of the day, let me know if you started making reading plans for 2021. Are there books coming out that are already on your radar that you're excited to pick up? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.